If you're looking to buy a GoPro in 2024, do you really need a new model, or does the Hero5 Black still cut it? What you're watching right now is shot on the GoPro Hero5 Black in 2.7K linear mode. I've shot it a bit wider than intended, since for this particular shot it was still a bit too wide for my liking. So why did I buy this camera? I bought this camera to get some fun BTS footage when I'm out on set. And for that, the specs of this camera seem more than enough for me. But we'll get to that in a little bit. And I managed to pick it up for 84 euros, which is about 90 US dollars. And that's a real steal for the specs you're getting out of this camera. The camera is small and lightweight, and you can mount it basically anywhere. And for this application, I don't want to fiddle with settings, focus and so on. I just want to be able to mount it and hit record. I will have lots of other things to do, so I can't have a camera that will take up time and distract me from my job. So it's basically all set to auto. I can quickly mount it somewhere for an interesting shot and know that the camera will do a pretty good job at capturing it. The focus is fixed, so no need to worry about manual focus or an autofocus system that decides to focus on the wrong thing. Everything is in focus with the deep depth of field, and the auto exposure and auto white balance does a very good job. And it's small and lightweight enough that it doesn't get in the way. The GoPro Hero5 Black has a sensor size of 1/2.3 inches with a resolution of 4000 by 3000 pixels. In front of that sensor we have a fixed lens that can't be detached. And the lens is fixed in all aspects. It has a fixed focal length, it has a fixed focus, and it has a fixed aperture of 2.8. You have the ability to choose different field of view options in the UI, but the actual focal length of the lens is fixed. The native field of view is called wide and has a full frame equivalent focal length of about 14mm, which is very wide and has that classic GoPro look. Next up we have medium, which is a bit tighter and has a full frame equivalent focal length of 21mm. And if you want to go a bit tighter than that, you have narrow, which has a full frame equivalent focal length of about 28mm. There are also two bonus options, if you will. First we have linear, which uses the same field of view as medium, but also applies lens correction in camera, which straightens those curved lines and removes that typical GoPro look. And lastly we have super view. And super view is a very interesting one because it achieves its very unique field of view by using the whole 4x3 sensor and squeezing that into a 16:9 frame. Note that this comes with a lot of distortion. And we can easily tell that this is the case if we take a 16:9 super view image and compare it to a 4x3 wide image and apply some lens correction. We end up with the same frame. But I'll talk more about lens corrections later on. The way the camera achieves different field of views with a fixed prime lens is essentially cropping the sensor and using a smaller part of it to achieve a bigger crop of the image. And because of that, you can't shoot narrow in 4K, for example. There simply aren't enough pixels on that smaller part of the sensor. And if you shoot 4K wide and crop it to match 1080p narrow, you basically get the exact same image. Here's a chart of all the different resolution, frame rate and field of view combinations. I'm pretty much going to ignore everything below 1080p though. At that point the resolution is a bit too low in my opinion. You can pause the video if you want to look more closely, but I think it's easier to wrap your head around all the available resolutions if you sort them by field of view. So let's start with super view and work our way through them. In super view the highest resolution is 4K at 24 FPS. Note that this isn't available at 25 or 30 FPS. For that you would have to go down to 2.7K. For higher frame rates you can get 80 FPS at 1080p. Next up we have wide, and for that the highest resolution is 4K at 30 FPS. For higher frame rates you can get 60 FPS at 2.7K, 80 FPS at 1440p, which is 4x3, or 120 FPS at 1080p. If we go to medium we will have to drop in resolution, and our highest resolution is 2.7K, up to 60 FPS. To get a higher frame rate than that you would have to go down all the way to 720p for 120 FPS. And in linear we have exactly the same as medium, except the 120 FPS at 720p option is now gone. And lastly we have narrow, and for that the highest resolution available is 1080p, with the highest frame rate being 120 FPS. And all of this is encoded using an H.264 codec. The bitrates vary a bit depending on the resolution and frame rate though. When shooting between 24 and 30 FPS, that means you will get 60 megabits per second at 4K, 45 megabits per second at 2.7K, and 30 megabits per second at 1080p. And if you're shooting higher frame rates, the bitrate will also go up a bit, but not above 60 megabits per second. You also have the option to customize the image a bit in the ProTune settings. I have turned the in-camera sharpening all the way down and I'm using the flat colors. I think the default settings are over-sharpened, so this will allow me to fine-tune it myself. This is all recorded to a micro SD card, and according to the manual, the camera will accept cards up to 128 gigabytes. At the maximum 60 megabits per second, that will be roughly 4 hours and 44 minutes. Next to the micro SD card we have the battery. It's swappable and you can get them for very cheap. I bought an extra one for €5. The camera has a USB-C port which has multiple functions. It can be used to transfer files to your computer, or you can plug in the GoPro microphone adapter, which will allow you to plug a 3.5mm external microphone straight into the camera. You can also use it to charge your battery or power the camera even without the battery in it. We also have a micro HDMI port. When connecting an external monitor through HDMI, you have 3 options: Monitor, Live, and Media. Monitor will let you use it as an external monitor, showing you all the camera info and overlays on the external display. Media is for playback if you want to plug your GoPro straight into a TV, for example. And Live is pretty much like Monitor, except with a clean feed, so you won't have any overlays or camera info on the screen, just a clean image. And this is perfect if you want to live stream with the camera, for example. But what about stabilization? Is it any good on such an old GoPro? It does have electronic stabilization, which will crop your video 10% and stabilize your footage. It's nothing amazing though. And note that this isn't available in 4K. It doesn't have hypersmooth, but it does record gyro data that you can use to stabilize it in post. Essentially, it's hypersmooth with more control. For some shots you might not want stabilizations, and for the ones that you do, you can control how much stabilization, since you're tweaking it yourself in post. I use a program called Gyroflow, which is great for this application, and I'm going to create a video and show you how to do it. I'll put a link in the description once it's out, and if it's not there yet, consider subscribing to get notified when it is. Using Gyroflow you can also apply lens corrections. This will allow you to remove that fisheye look and straighten those curved lines. It can really transform your footage, and it won't be immediately apparent that it was shot on a GoPro. I'll put out a video on how to do that as well, but for the people that are still watching this video, I'll give you the 10-second version right now. All you have to do is add your clip, select the camera and lens option you shot it with. For some combinations this will be automatically recognized and you are basically done. Click here to see how the footage has been transformed, and click here to toggle it on and off. It's that simple. Being able to shoot an ultra-wide 4K image with basically zero effort or time needed, that you can easily lens correct and or stabilize with gyro data for $90, I mean, come on, that's amazing. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see some more, and I'll see you next time.